Well, hello and welcome back to the garden. It is the month of May and we have another long list of jobs ahead of us. And this is the month when everything is really going to be weather dependent, or there's just certain jobs we have to hold off on because of the weather, or at least we have to have horticultural police at hand, as there are still so many frosty spells. And at least for here, for us in the zone 8B, 9A, we're still going to have frost up to even middle of May really. So let me run you through of the jobs that I'm planning for myself for the month of May. What can I do now, and what again I have to probably hold off on. Now, first of all, there aren't many videos that I start being on top of my own little world as such, because you can literally see the kitchen garden from here, you can see the greenhouse from there, because on top of the green roof. And this is, I suppose, one of these jobs that is a bit different. Not everybody would have a green roof for sure, but a month of May is something when, or like even April, if we have a warm April, is when I do that spring prep. So usually it's the weeding is the main job of it, and then every second year or such, depending on how severe the winter has been, I will put a bit of slow release fertilizer on it, and then sprinkle a little bit of soil as well, but not this year. This year I'm only going to be doing is the weeding of it, and it's such a pretty time. So month of May, this area here really will shine. The colours are going to be so bright. There's going to be flowers. Then month of June as well, the sedum is going to be flowering. But for the rest of the May gardening jobs, let me just come down off this green roof. I'm back in the greenhouse, sheltered from the cold winds, and as you see now again, it's overcast. We're maybe expected rain today, don't know, maybe the sun will come out again, but at least inside here, yeah, always protected and nice and warm. But whenever I think of May, month of May, right, there are a couple of things that are always in my mind. Is that it's still part of sort of spring clean season and prepping season. So prepping for all these heat loving crops, for instance, in here, like so in the greenhouse, just to get this really ready for the tomatoes, chilies, peppers, cucumbers. Because really even by mid-May to the second half of May, this would be all filled with all those plants. But then the second side of the sort of annual heat loving plants would be the squashes, pumpkins, corn, and then let's say as the flowers go, the sunflowers, zinnias and tagetes, anything that's going to suffer if there's going to be frost. And obviously there's only so much protection you could carry around the garden. Now I obviously, for the potatoes, I would have had them fleeced over. I did not want to take chances, and so I did inside the greenhouse here, because I've kept the tomatoes here. So I've done the same for the dwarf French beans, the cosmos, and I have the cucumber seedlings all still out here, and tomatoes obviously, and sunflowers and tagetes, which I sowed actually already in April. So I was protecting all of them. But the more you're going to accumulate these plants that are tender, yeah, you just, it's just basically going to create more work for you. So you could hold off on some of these sowings until now, really. And then obviously with the weather warming up and like the spring clean topic, you'd have that constant weeding now. The weeding is going to be a big thing. And then you also have to start adding support to plants. Obviously from the ornamental side, the one big thing that I knew I have to get the peony supports in I don't want the plant to grow, because actually when they only start growing, they grow really fast, and it's very hard to get support around it then once the shoots are any bit bigger and the leaves start to open themselves as well. But yeah, tying in even clematis or climbing roses, sweet peas, you know, there's anything that needs the assistance and support just to keep them compact, keep them from blowing away by the wind or just overall by the wind and rain combination. Yeah, all of those jobs need to get done now as well. Another part of a spring tidy job would be, for instance, if you have ornamental plants in larger pots, is rather than repotting them, is just topping up with fresh compost. So removing that little bit of a surface compost first, a little bit of fertilizer, fresh compost on top of it again, and then even on top of that, let's say mulch, wood based, for instance, the bark mulch would be perfect for it. But that overall then will give the plants a great boost, and month of May is a great time to do that. And you'd be sure then the plant is happy for the growing season ahead. End of April or early May, at the same time sort of when you would be planting your main crop potatoes, is a good time to plant these exotics as well. Well, they're still exotics, is the oca or New Zealand yams. And these have been chitting in a cool but bright location in our utility room since the beginning of the year really. And you can see by their shoots they're raring to go. But it's just down to the weather. Even though, yes, we're still going to get frosts, perhaps up to even mid-May, but I don't think we're going to get anything as severe as obviously the winter frosts are, which will kill the foliage of it. So last year I grew it in a tub, and just seeing how vigorous they were inside those big 30-litre tubs, I'm trying to grow them in this planter this year. So next to the mass show, and just see how they're going to work in this wind tunnely area. But at least it's going to be well contained, because they're a bit like Jerusalem artichoke, that if you don't catch them all, they'll be just constantly multiplying. So, but I don't mind this planter for them. I'm planting them about 3 foot deep, not 3 foot, 4 inches. 4 inches is plenty. I just throw them in. There's about 3 different colours, styles I have. There's no names for them, because there's so many hybrids of them. So they don't need any fancy soil conditions. And I'm putting them about 6 inches to a foot apart as well. As I said, I don't mind if they multiply in this planter. But some of them are just so pretty. But I do remember as a flavour, the white, purely white version, which I probably not planted at all, they were the nicest, I think, raw, as the others were good when cooked. And why I was so interested in growing them first place is because they would be a lot like a potato substitute. Now obviously they're way smaller tubers, like Jerusalem or artichoke would be as well. They'll be small tubers, but yeah, so there's still plenty of carbohydrate out of them, but they'll be like potato substitute. But their beauty is that they don't get blight, and we're notorious for getting blight here in this humid and damp climate. As a flavour of the tuber itself, it has sort of like a lemony soy taste, a little bit different. Yeah, definitely it doesn't, it's no way similar to potatoes themselves, but it's different. And actually it's roasted as part of overall like roasted vegetable tray. They're delicious, really nice. My boys loved it, so that's why I'm happy to grow it again. And you can definitely grate them and eat them raw as well in salads. But a bit like with Jerusalem or artichokes, you just have to see if you get any side effects from eating too many of them. But as they are cooked, yeah, absolutely lovely. So definitely looking forward to getting them going again. And then the same like with potatoes or beans is that you could just keep then back your own seed. So you're going to become self-sustained in that particular vegetable. Cheers. Vegetable. You arrived too late, girls. Yeah, Blossom got it all. Look at that. I have to go in now, it's starting to rain. Yeah, you're too late. Good girls. What about the beans update? Well, it's sort of half positive and half negative, but I don't dwell on it anymore. And also, I forgot to hit record. I thought I hit record on the camera, but I've taken out all the planting behind me. Well, the brassica plants behind me from the planters, and I weeded the bed, so that's all clear. I still have the big kale here, but only because there's still plenty to harvest off it. And then I have some chard in here as well. And what I'm going to do with chard, probably in the next 2 weeks, is that I'm literally going to dig those plants up. I'm not going to just chuck them out. I'm actually going to physically dig them out and replant them in the kitchen garden, because they're really nice young plants. They're not tiny seedlings or anything, but because they're already substantial in their growth, I don't want to just put them out there into full shock. So I want the weather to warm up a little bit more for them. But the bean seedlings. So the saga I had with soybeans and Greek gigantes. So as a quick recap, what I had were soybean seeds. I sowed them this year. I had sowed them the year before as well, but they never succeeded. And they didn't succeed this time either. Then also I had a 6 maybe of Greek gigantea seeds as well, which I hadn't grown before, but I planted them all up and I kept those pots with the soil and everything in the house, in the kitchen, on the windowsill, sort of, well, it's a shelving unit at the window, and nothing came of them. When I went poking around, they were all rotten inside of it. So what I did then, the second time around, so that was I think 2 weeks after, is that I put the seeds into a white or sort of see-through food container with a double layer of kitchen paper, or kitchen towel, kitchen paper, that was just really nice and damp, and I put the seeds on top of it, and I placed this on top of the radiator. And within a couple of days, like obviously I kept checking on them, I had the soybeans and Greek gigantea side by side in that one tub. And the soybeans went fully mouldy, totally mouldy. And because of some of the white Greek beans were just right next to them, I ended up taking them out of that same container altogether, giving them their own fresh container. And then obviously I could actually see good germination out of those, but some of them started to go mouldy. So I took again 2 really clean ones, the ones that were the cleanest and tidiest looking ones. I put them into their own little container with the same thing, wet paper towel, and kept them separate just in case they were contaminating each other. So I just didn't want that to happen. And have a look at this. So soybeans I'm not worried about. Look, if they didn't succeed, they didn't succeed. I'll have a look at next year. I won't bother with them now this year again, because I do believe in signs, and it must be a sign I'm not meant to grow them this season. But the Greek Gigantea definitely, obviously have germinated. There's nice leaves out of them, so I'm going to plant them up. So I'm going to plant them into pots, not directly out there into the soil yet, because obviously they've been mollycoddled so much now that yeah, they're so big. Like there's so I want to just mind them here a little bit longer. They're fully together. But I'm just happy at least this worked. And once I have these planted up, I'm going to run you through the pumpkins and the courgettes, what I'm going to be sowing as well, because I'm actually not going to plant them either at the moment. I'm also going to do the same thing with them. I'm going to put them on the damp towel, kitchen paper, and onto the radiator, and just make sure they germinate before I plant them. One reason is actually because I'm out of pots at the moment. I do need to find more pots or freeze some of the others. Obviously I have a lot of the tomato seedlings planted up, so actually that has never happened, that I'm out of pots. And also month of May is going to be filled with planting out all these seedlings that we've been growing. And like obviously outside in the kitchen garden I have the lettuce seedlings and some more brassica seedlings, and they'll be all planted out now within literally a week or two even. And then obviously direct sowing, just there's so much you could sow. Direct sowing, I suppose what I'll be still thinking of is radishes and maybe some more turnips. The rest of it I would have already sown now in April, and then I'll have a look at the next set of sort of brassicas probably in July or very early August for the winter or overwinter growing plants that I could perhaps leave inside the greenhouse when tomato season is finished. But whatever I'm physically growing outside, I've already sown within the month of March or then April. But it's still absolutely okay to sow so many varieties. I'll just put like a list on the screen. I won't name them out, but a lot of brassicas basically. But when I'm thinking of month of May seed sowing, it's mainly just all those pumpkin squashes and yeah, it's just warmth loving plants, cucumbers, you know, corn, those ones. But yeah, I'm absolutely delighted now that at least those white Greek bean seeds germinated. I have them potted up now, and I'm going to leave them in the greenhouse, but otherwise they'll be grown outside up the arches, I'd say, in the raised bed planters. And I'm trying to do that germination thing on the pumpkin seeds as well. But let me just run through what I'll be sowing. So what else I'll be physically sowing is the corn. And again, I'll do them usually in the deep root modules like sweet peas, and this year I'm trying golden bantam sweet corn. I've tried a couple of F1 varieties before, and we've had a great success from them. That's actually where the packet is. So last year I grew Rising Sun F1, and that did fantastic. So obviously if a standard variety now will fail on me, then I'd probably go back to the F1s again. So that's one. Then obviously flowers, sunflowers. I have some sown here already. That was the Velvet Queen, home saved seed, and then there's oranges and lemons, another variety. Pumpkins. Now there's no pictures on them, I'm afraid, but these are packets from last year. So this is not new, and neither of those two. So Amish pie pumpkin was one. This is Waltham butternut squash. Oh, and we're back to rain again. Then crown prince. Now I have actually a couple of packets of crown prince. But why I'm testing the germination now first is because of that they are not fresh seeds. And at least if they fail for whatever reason, but they'll fail, that I still have time to get some more new ones. And then my mom gave me some uchiki kuri. Well, she thinks it's a kuri type squash, and they're fresh seeds, so I'll try them as well. But the main thing with the well, that was a shower and a half. But yeah, before it starts again, because I could see it's quite amazing actually. I'll actually give you just a little context about it. It's quite amazing. Because we sort of have a bit of a view of sight from here to, not to the future, but what the weather comes, or what kind of weather is sort of rolling in through the valley. So I can see it's all so dark. There is not going to be end of this kind of rain now. Even though the sun is trying to break through, it's all really, really dark down there. So there'll be no more outdoor gardening for today. So the weather has decided. But before it starts raining again, you won't be able to hear me. The main thing about these obviously heavy or really strong shelled seeds is that if I'd be planting them into the pots, I'd put them straight on the side and usually keep those pots quite damp, just to make sure that the seed gets enough liquid and it's sort of water and it's able to break through it. But otherwise, another thing is to use scissors and just cut off the very, very tip of it, just that little tip, and just enough that you'll see that green part in it starting to poke out. And this way the inside of the seed will reach the water way quicker, and it's going to be germinating way, way faster. So I'm trying to do that. So I should have, as I said, the uchikikuri side, then the crown prince. I have Amish pumpkin, Amish pie pumpkin, and Waltham butternut squash. So out of the courgettes or zucchinis, I'll have the Black Beauty, which is the family favourite so far. Beautiful, really dark coloured, dark skinned variety, but also prolific and tasty. Then there's Firenze F1, a new variety to grow, an F1 variety. And then just a really pretty yellow is Lemona. And the yellow is truly beautiful looking if they come out like that. So that is the type of planning I have for the month of May with the gardening jobs. And obviously I know now for this year a lot of my time is going to be taken up as well with the cottage garden side, getting that planted up. I have to do the sort of path area there as well. So I am going to be spending more time with ornamentals this year, which is not a bad thing, because that is where my gardening, my personal gardening journey started from, was purely ornamentals. That was the stuff that I wanted to grow myself before the vegetable side came in. Even though I was literally brought up the other way around. So the vegetables would have been the very first thing, weeding those fields and fields of potatoes and other sort of like cabbages, and picking up the cabbage caterpillars as a small child. And then teenage years, sort of the ornamental side came in, and that has stayed with me until obviously with our own household and all that. But yeah, the weather has decided where we have to cut this gardening side. If you are any bit interested how the garden looked like just within a week and a half before this video, it's the April plot tour. Have a look at that video above. But otherwise, yeah, thanks a million for joining me today, and until next time.